Hey guys, my name is Shonde and this is my presentation for character modeling for game graphics design. I hope you guys really enjoy it. This is basically just my presentation of how I came up with my character model in Blender for the graphic design project. So for the beginning, it was pretty simple. The modeling was provided by Nox, Queen of the Realm, in graphic design, and what ended up happening was a basic mesh model that was similar to what the overall kind of layout of the character I was trying to get. I did the hands separately and then attached them afterwards, and it was a lot of fun. At this point I was feeling confident, and I think a lot of other people were too. In the end of the day, I got onto my detail and using all the reference images as well, and Deku was actually starting to look a lot like Deku. But yeah, doing the detail was absolutely awesome, and I ran into absolutely no problems until I looked at the face count. Yikes. Overall, really happy with how it came out, but it was time to start deleting faces, and as you can see in edit mode, there was a lot of faces to delete. So that took a while. But eventually I got to what was this, and this is basically the dumbed down model. That last one had like close to 5,000 faces. This one is 2,046. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite cut it into what was going to be the 1,500 faces specified for the project specifically. But I was pretty happy with where I got to. I cut down the faces by over half, but anything more than that just disfigured the model entirely. I was getting n-gons and triangles all over the show. But the next part is pretty much the part I got to that made me want to cry. And I mean cry, because applying textures was a nightmare. And every method that I could think of was going through my head, but I just couldn't really come up with something concrete. In the end of the day, I was using texture painting to try paint on the torso. I was struggling really just so much with finding some way to get the painting on and then to export and unwrap this into Photoshop that would make me happy with what this model was going to come out like and what I was kind of trying to achieve. And in the end of the day, I didn't like what this was, so I thought of just giving up there and basically just applying basic textures and going along with this and just being happy with that. So with a lot of help from classmates and specific ones, to be fair, because Kyle was an absolute gem, and through the power of friendship, I stopped moping in the corner and crying and thinking that the world was going to end, and I started the long journey to actually texturing what was going to be this model. And I'll start bringing in the other textures as I go through this video, but I started specifically with the eyes and the mask, and I started adding bump maps, and basically it was really cool because, you know, I got to unwrap this eye in the UV, and I could bring in this image into the UV editor instead of exporting it out to Photoshop, and I started using texture paint on this UV map specifically. I added in a little bit more of a deeper lens flare and a pupil, and I was really happy with where the eye was. The mask, I was absolutely so delighted with how the mask came out. I added scratches to it using bump maps. There you go. And eventually I got to the torso, and as you can see, again with the use of bump maps, it started to get this really velvety look to the torso, which I was just so happy with. It almost created like this really like animated kind of texture to the torso and the suit overall, which I really enjoyed. For this similar scenario, basically I was adding in bump maps to get these feels for the shoes, specifically for the soles, the iron soles that Deku has. I used what was a Musgrave texture, and that gave it like this really grunge kind of feel, like he had really used his shoes to kick the hell out of people, which was really cool. I added some cracks to his knee guards, you know, just because wear and tear. And I started to really get a feel for this. I really started to just enjoy texturing the character. I was no longer crying in the corner. As you can see, he's got like the little bolts. I started to add those in, started to texture those in. So for the belt, I didn't really do anything special. I didn't add any bump maps, nothing like that. I just kind of drew in pockets and made a little circle for where the clip would be, just to, you know, give it that feel. So nothing too special with the belts. With the lighting reflection, I made it almost look like this leathery sort of texture, as you can see from like the light reflections, as best as you possibly can. And my texturing was done. It looked absolutely awesome. I was so happy with it. I was so pleased. But it wasn't over yet, because I still had to add in a whole lot of things, clean up everything, and eventually I did actually get to that. And it wouldn't be a Deku model without a little bit of lightning. And sorry, I didn't really add in the textures onto this model, because I kind of lost the file path. But as you can see, I started to add in some lightning, and I just had to add this in. This was absolutely awesome. So it was, you know, a couple of notes here and there. But basically, it was time for lights, camera, action. I didn't really want to get too much into the lightning, specifically for a lot of reasons. The first one being, if you see, this mesh has the amount that I had before, 2000 faces. As soon as I turn this on, it shoots up just a little bit. I'm not too sure how happy Nox was going to be with that, but regardless, the lightning itself isn't actually part of the actual mesh. It was just a really nice add-on that I thought would be really cool for this character model specifically. On top of that, there was just a whole lot of modifiers in the right hand side. But getting away from that and onto the mesh itself, in the scene itself, you can see I added a light to make it look like there was a sun actually going down in the background image that I added. An area light to give it really that feel that there was a sunset that actually was about to come down, and then a light in the front and the back just to illuminate the character model itself and give it just a really good feel overall. And I mean, beyond that, there's not really much more to it. That was really about it. I'll try add in some rendered images that I came up with toward the end. But that's really it, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for watching, but also I had a really awesome time with this character model. It was absolutely awesome. I learned so much. I feel like I'm 10 times the modeler now than I was a couple days ago. I learned a lot, and really it was just the research that I put into it, the work, and it really does pay off in the end, depending on the amount of work that you actually do put in. And try new things. Also, definitely don't be discouraged. I know that I was for a little bit with the textures, but I kept working at it, found some ways to eventually get it done, and I'm beyond happy with what I basically produced in the end. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and peace out.